What's going on, guys? I'm back with another 31 Days of Halloween review, and today we're doing what's become a classic horror, Halloween, slasher film, Friday the 13th. Crystal Lake's history of murders doesn't deter counselors from setting up a summer camp in a woodsy area. Superstitious locals warn against it, but the fresh-faced young people, Jack, Alice, Bill, Mossy, and Ned, pay little heed to the old-timers. Then they find themselves stalked by a brutal killer. As they're slashed, shot, stabbed, the counselors struggle to stay alive against a merciless opponent. Man, I'm gonna be honest, this film's a bit of shit, but there's definitely some decent aspects to it, so let's unpack it, starting with the positives. For starters, no matter what, Friday the 13th basically birthed the slasher genre, outside of Halloween and Black Christmas of course, with its trademarked all the horror tropes like falling while running, don't have sex, do things you shouldn't do, and stuff like that. There really isn't much of a story to break down here. It's simply a bunch of teenagers reopening a campground and having a bunch of sex. But when the film finally gets to its climax, it reveals a small glimpse of a backstory, which turns out to be pretty interesting. It also has a pretty decent twist as well, although it can feel a bit random when you factor in all what you've already digested in the last hour of the film. When it comes to the direction of the film, you can already tell Sean Cunningham was a porn director even before looking it up, with the amount of sex going on, terrible acting, and the overall profanity this film ensues. But with that aside, Friday the 13th is a pretty stylish film in its own way, having these pretty cool POV shots, making things feel more intense, while also incorporating loads of stalking shots to really enhance that ominous, eerie feeling and tone they were going for, especially when coupled with that iconic score. With the characters, I really couldn't tell you their names outside of our quote-unquote lead, because they were all just the breathing definition of dull, wooden cutouts. This may come off a bit weird, but ride with me for a second. This may be the only film that I can think of where the side characters add a bit more to the film than the actual leads, where all the side characters do a good job setting up the tone of the film, and also to give you some clues on the carnage to come. The main slasher themselves was pretty creepy and one of the best parts of the film. I thought Cunningham and the team did a pretty cool job not letting us know who it was until the very end, playing with that whodunit scheme. Now as for the kills, I thought they were fairly gory and pretty original for the time, but the creative team had to take a step back from what they truly wanted to go with, because if they were to go with their original ideas, the film would have had to be X-rated, and they didn't really want any of that. The practical effects and makeup done on the kills were exceptionally well done, but for my money, they still mainly hold up for today's standards, for the most part anyways. Most of the kills were pretty believable and well executed. With a few positives out of the way, let's head into the heap of negatives this film has, starting with the story. Or should I say, the lack of one. I have no problem with the minimalistic storylines, but this one almost felt non-existent. Right off the bat, this film was chock full of filler that had basically nothing to do with the plot. It seemed like they had about 40-ish minutes of content, and they needed to hit that 90-minute mark, so they just took extra long shots of these random things, like cars pulling in and driving away, the whole process of making a cup of coffee, and so much more. To backpack off of that point, I also feel the story was a fairly slow burn tale, where if there was no killings going on, it felt pretty boring for the most part, having so much downtime. My next issue, which I pretty much already hinted at, is with the characters. They all had pretty much no personality, nor acting skills at that, where most of their reactions came off so unnatural. There was no connection built with any of them, so I feel most of the audience really didn't care who died and who lived on, really minimizing the stakes. The next issue I had to go along with the characters was the script. My god, it was just awful. There was just so many moments where I was left laughing at how stupid some of the dialogue was. If it was genuinely funny, I'd give it a pass, but it was just so flat and stupid, feeling almost like an afterthought, which seems a bit ass backwards now, doesn't it, when it comes to filmmaking. Another issue I had, which can be low-hanging fruit with these type of films, but this film turned it up to 11, and that's the logic. It's tough to get into specifics without spoiling the film, but it's just time and time again where I was left yelling at the screen saying, "What the fuck are you doing?" or "That just doesn't make any sense," to where it partially took me out of the film at numerous times. And my last major negative, without getting into the many nitpicks I have, is the ending. I'm sure we all know what it is by now, but because this is a spoiler-free review, I won't get into it. But for those who know that it demanded a rewrite. Quite literally, what would have been the best part of the film got completely yanked from us by adding another 2 minutes to the end and basically rewriting it all, making the whole film feel almost pointless. God, I was so frustrated at this. Overall, Friday the 13th may feel like a rip-off of Halloween amongst many, many other issues, but at the end of the day, it is an iconic horror film that is a must-watch during the Halloween season, but not so much because of what it is, but more so what it started. I give it a 4 out of 10. Let me know what you think of Friday the 13th in the comments below, and let me know what film you'd like to see me review next. See you guys on the next one.